All right, everybody, we are live. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. And today I have the brother Oheneba Boateng. Did I say that right? Boateng.
Well, I mean, you tried.
Okay, I tried. I'm sorry. I butchered it. Please forgive me.
Oheneba Boateng.
I was kind of close.
Yeah, I mean, that's how
Oheneba
people usually
Boateng.
start, so it's all right.
Okay. I was kind of close. I know my American accent butchered it. So we have brother Boateng on all the way from Germany. He's Ghanaian. And I like bringing again the purpose of this platform is to connect the diaspora. So brother Boateng is originally from Ghana and is currently in Germany. So a question I have often, and we can start off right now, get right into it. Now you said you left Ghana, correct, to go to Canada. Am I right?
uh, no, I left Ghana for Germany and then to Canada.
Okay, but now you're back in Germany.
Yes.
Okay, right. So man, I'm back. We're gonna fight again today. Who's Farah? I don't. Oh, okay. Oh, Sultan. That's Sultan. You changed your name. All right. So yeah. So how has your? We'll jump right into it. You went to Germany. Why'd you leave Germany the first time to go to Canada?
For me, it was more about because when I first came to Germany in 2011, I came to uh, for my master's degree here. And then I wanted to do a PhD, so I went to Canada for that. So for me, it was mainly the education opportunities that I followed to Canada,
Uh huh.
right? And I wanted to do that PhD in an English speaking country. So that's my main reason why I went to Canada.
Let me ask this: why leave Ghana to further your education? Now you have Kwame Nkrumah University in Kumasi. Am I correct?
Yes, that's actually my former school. That's where I did my bachelor's.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So you actually did your undergrad in Ghana.
Yes.
Now, how's the university system in Ghana, or say Kwame Nkrumah, compared to the schools in Canada? If you could speak on that.
Okay. So first off, the most common thing they have the one thing they have in common is they are both instructed in English, at least in Hamilton, Ontario, where I studied.
Uh huh.
So English is common to both countries. But in Canada, and then in Canada, bachelor's, the undergraduate education is 4 years, which is the same thing in Ghana. Um, and masters in Canada, in Ghana too, you have them ranging from, let's say, 1 year to 2 years. That's the same thing. But when it comes to content, there's a bit of difference. What I noticed was that the curriculum in Ghana was, when I was later comparing with that of what I studied in Germany and Canada, what I studied in Ghana was more global in the sense that I studied more about places other than Africa. Of course, I studied Africa in Ghana as well, but then I also studied uh, European history, North American history, the Caribbean, so the African diaspora, right? So I studied my education in Ghana, I think, was more global in the sense of the content than what I experienced like in Germany and in Canada, right? Um, but when it comes to how the schools themselves operate, these schools in back home usually have a lot of challenges. They operate under very challenging conditions. The key thing is funding, right?
Okay.
So there's government intervention that takes care of part of the cost. So the schools get only half of what they are supposed to get from the government, and then they have to raise the other part on their own. So that's what they try to raise from research funding and fees from students and other sources. And usually these funds don't come easy, right? So so because of this limited funding, it's the problem eats into other parts of the operations, right? Which is different from what you have in Germany and in Canada, where I experienced them.
Okay, what now? How's your experience been so far in Germany? Like, do you have kids, family at all? Like, how's your experience been in Germany versus Ghana so far?
Well, it depends on what you specifically want to know because it's
I mean, we already know. I'm pretty sure the weather sucks in Germany compared to Ghana. I already know that. Uh, Now, is there a pretty large Ghanaian diaspora community in Berlin?
yes, there is. As far as I know, um, Ghanaians are actually the largest African community, or one of the largest in Germany and in Berlin, here in Berlin. So you have a large Ghanaian presence. You have Ghanaian churches and other social organizations, and you have a Ghanaian student group in Berlin, in Germany. It's an association of Ghanaians who are studying in Germany here, and you also have the Ghana Embassy, which is based here in Berlin, which also usually organizes programs that many Ghanaians attend. So there's an active Ghanaian presence here in Berlin, and it's this is something that has been there for a long time, at least since the 1970s, when there was this huge wave of migration outside of Ghana. A lot of them came to Germany, especially in Hamburg. So I think Hamburg actually has the largest Ghanaian community in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah, because of this historical trend when many of them came to Germany, because that is a port city and many of the Ghanaians came by ship. So that's was usually their first point of landing. So there's a large Ghanaian community in Hamburg as well, and here in Berlin, of course.
We have somebody in the chat room who's currently stationed in Germany, so maybe you guys can get up. Everybody in the chat room, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. As you enter, please get the likes up, hit the like button. Greatly appreciate it. What's now? How has it been adjusting? In Germany, like how's that transition been? Like, are you homesick? Like, how's that been?
Yeah, I mean, that's always being homesick is always part of the story, but it also, from my own experience, I think it also depends on the environment in which you find yourself. So when I first came here in 2011, I studied at a small private university here, and the
Oh, I'm
language
sorry.
was
What's your major?
okay. So I've been doing a number of things. So my bachelor's was in history,
Uh-huh.
and then I did an MA in modern global history. That's what I came to do first here in Germany. And then when I went to Canada for 1 year, I took the chance to do another MA in globalization studies. And now I'm just completing my PhD in political science. So I've been doing everything, at least in the, uh, not everything, but many things in the social sciences. So now I would say, let's say, history and political science. That's what I do.
Okay. I'm just answering the question in the chat room. So why not continue your education strictly in Africa? I'm pretty sure there are many African universities that offer PhD programs, or there might not be. Why, especially with a poli sci major, why leave Africa versus staying in Africa or even Ghana to be specific as far as your education goes?
Yeah, actually, when I was um, when I was doing just finishing my undergrads, that was always my idea too. I always knew I was going to go for a PhD, so there was no question about that. But where I wanted to do that, Ghana was my first choice, of course, because it was home and everyone was familiar, and I was always interacting with some of my TAs who are already also doing their PhDs, and they would always encourage you to, do that, go for the PhD if you want. But I also realized, once I interacted with more people, I realized that the picture was not as rosy as it was, because the first worry I came to think about was the time to completion. These days it's better, but about 7 years ago, it took a very long time uh, for you to finish the PhD in Ghana. There's a huge an overgeneralization, but in the field in history, for instance, which I did my undergrad, it would have taken a long time, maybe partly due to the students' own approach to the topic, but also due to the kind of support systems that you may or may not have from the school, including funding and the availability of suitable professors and all that. Because many of them are busy, but there were also fields that did not readily have professors who would be willing or available to work, with you. So for me, the main reason I left Ghana for my studies abroad was to get on a program that would actually allow me to finish on time. That was the main reason. And so far, on all the programs that I've been on, I've been able to finish on time.
Okay. Would you recommend other, I guess, Africans who want to further their education to come to Germany or look elsewhere?
It depends. It depends on what the person wants to do. Because for engineering, I would definitely recommend Germany. Because for engineering, I would recommend. But you know, not everyone wants to come to Germany though, because I have friends who are actually choosing South Africa over Germany for for very good reasons, and I would encourage people to go wherever they want to go. But I wouldn't necessarily say that people should come to Germany because it's better than everything in Africa. Or no, I wouldn't say that, because I've studied on, you know, both sides, and I know they both have their good and not so good sides. So if people want to study outside for specific reasons, like in my case, because I wanted to be I like certainty. So I wanted to be sure that if I'm supposed to spend 2 years on this program, I finish at the end of 2 years. So that is the main reason why I left. So it depends on the person's reason for wanting to study outside.
How's the job markets looking in Germany? Would you work in Germany or would you go back to Ghana?
I I I at the moment, I think I'll not go back to Ghana immediately, maybe. And that doesn't mean I'm going to stay in Germany. I'm open to everywhere. I'm actually looking for a job with the African Union, so in Ethiopia. I lived in Ethiopia for about 6 months, and at the African Union, I worked there. I researched there for about 6 months. That's doing my field work. So I liked it, and I made some really good contacts there. So wherever I find a job, I'll go. Definitely somewhere in Africa or somewhere in Europe. I'll just study. I'll just stay and go. But I also put in an application with my former school coming from us, so it also gave me a job. I'll go
Oh,
there.
really? Okay.
So yes, yes, I sent all my documents to them, so they are looking through it. So wherever I find a job, I'll go.
Let me ask you this: do you think that I mean, how are the salaries for somebody that will work at Kwame Nkrumah University? As far as, I mean, is it good pay, or like what are your thoughts on that? As far as the job market, or the salaries in Ghana compared to the salaries in Germany?
Well, I mean, there's a huge disparity between them. You know, in Germany, if you're starting on your first job, let's say as uh, an assistant professor, which if that is if you want to be in the on the academic track, that would be your first permanent job. You probably start with around let's say 3,800, 4,000 euros per month, right?
That's actually, I mean, that's, well, compared to, I don't know. Okay, so we'll say 4,000 euros a month. Now,
Yeah.
how much is like a two-bedroom apartment in uh, in a place like Berlin? Like a decent two-bedroom apartment, how many euros, roughly?
Well, it depends. It depends on the area, but on average, you pay, let's say, about 500 to 600 euros per month.
That's not bad. I mean, if you're making 4,000 euros, how no, but taxes are real
But
high.
tax is high. Tax is high, especially if you're single and you're not married or something. Tax is high if you're a single person. It goes down a little bit when you have children, or
Okay.
when you get married and you can file joint taxes, then that's okay. But if you're single, it's really high. But with that, you can still live a decent life in Berlin, because Berlin is actually, that's one of the surprising things about Berlin. It's compared to other German cities or even other big cities in Europe, it's relatively, uh, the cost of living here is not as expensive as other big cities in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But on the salary thing in Ghana, if you get hired for your first permanent job, you're probably going to start on something like, let's say about 5,000 cities, which is about 1,000 euros, right? But that is also a very decent salary in Ghana, because of course you can't compare euros and dollars because they belong to different countries. But when you start with 5,000 cities, it's also decent in Ghana. And of course, that comes with other um, allowances like research grants, grading or examination allowances, and other benefits that you get in Ghana.
Mm. What about people are asking, how are the women treating you in Germany? How are the women there?
Which women?
I mean, just the women in general. How are the women treating you in Germany?
Well, I mean, you have to be nice to everyone. You have to be nice to everyone you meet, and of course, when you're in a place like Germany, it's majority white, so most of the people that you are going to interact with are definitely white people. But then when you go to African gatherings, of course, then you still meet white people, but that's where you also meet more black people and black women. That people are people and women are generally nice, especially the if they get to know you. The one thing here is that in Germany, it's not easy striking casual conversations.
Why is that? Why is that?
It's a cultural thing. I think Germans are not used to striking casual conversations, so it's very weird to talk to, let's say, someone you don't know on the train, for instance.
Okay.
or to say hi to someone you don't know. It's really weird. Unless, so people usually form their friendships through their own social circles. So maybe in school, at work, in a club, or these places. So it's not common to just strike up a conversation and eventually friendship with a stranger, or to stop someone on the streets like you have, let's say, in the US, where, and I remember when I was in Atlanta, like people were talking to, they were just saying nice things, praising the girls who were just walking around the street. And you don't really get that here. People are more reserved, and it takes time for you to get to know them, for them to really trust you before they can establish some really concrete friendship with you. So I think it's just a cultural difference.
Do you frequent France at all? I heard there's a huge black population in France.
France, yes, there's a huge population in France.
Do you travel to France often? Like, do you make time to get over there?
Surprisingly enough, I've never been to France. I've been to Belgium and the Netherlands.
Well, there's a large black population in Belgium as well, I think.
There is, and in the Netherlands as well. Like
Yeah.
in all these European countries around, those with all these countries, you can go with the bus or the train anyway. So it's very easy to travel through them. There are large black populations around here in the UK, in the Netherlands, Belgium, France, definitely. Um, let's say you may not get a lot of the blacks in Poland, and like towards the east, it starts to thin out.
Right.
But in the west, yeah, there is a lot.
Yeah. Now let's deal with racism. Have you faced any? In fact, let me ask you this: how was racism in Canada versus Germany?
Hmm. You know, the for me, the interesting thing about racism is that some of the instances are very clear, they're very obvious, But in most of the cases, it is you, the target, trying to determine whether this is racist or not. Because I I, I think sometimes part of it comes from ignorance. For instance, let me give you this example. I was telling you a few seconds ago that it's hard to strike casual conversations with people. So this happened in Berlin.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to find a store, right? And I walked up to this lady, German lady, white German lady, and asked her for directions, right? In my mind, she was going to give me the directions of the store after I, finished speaking to her. But after I finished speaking, the first thing she asked me was, and I'm quoting her directly. So what do you want? Do you want money or something? This is what she says to me after I told her that, hey, I'm trying to find this shortcut
Oh,
for
if you want to
directions.
get married,
No, she thought I was begging for money.
make it for money. I didn't say you
Yes.
want to get married or
So
something.
she thought I was just trying to find directions, and she thought I was begging for money. So I don't know if this is racist or not, but it definitely comes from things they probably seen on the street, that some black people beg for money, or maybe strangers who walk up to you beg for money. You know, so it's hard to tell. But there are also clear instances, like when you want to, let's say, rent an apartment, right? And the
Right.
person tells you that, hey, I have an apartment available. And then your German friend who is helping you, because at the time, like, he spoke more fluent German, so he was just leading the transaction.
Hmm.
So this landlord, then after he tells us that, yeah, I have an apartment available, da da da, he asked my friend, like, where is this guy from?
Right.
And then my friend says he's from Ghana. And immediately the guy says, "All right, I don't have any apartment available." And then he hangs up.
Are you serious?
Yeah, you know.
That's illegal in America, but I
So
guess in Germany you can't get away with it. I guess you
I
can.
don't know. I don't think we can get away with it in Germany, but it's just. I mean, I didn't know the legal stuff here, and even if I did, I wasn't really going to pick up a legal battle with someone here. Just let the person be. But these are real experiences. That so in this case, it's clearly racist because he just hung up after he heard where I was coming from,
Uh-huh.
right? And then there are also instances where um like I live in a certain part of Berlin
Uh-huh.
which
Is
I've
that,
gotten
is,
to
is that
know.
is that the hood? You stay in the hood, like the southern parts are always the hood unless you're on the beach. Like, is that the hood?
No, it's actually not the hood. It's in the uh, southwestern part of Berlin, which is one of the most wealthy and very exclusive. It's actually for retirees and old people, wealthy people,
Wow.
right?
Wow, okay. Okay.
So, and that's one of the places where I live. Actually, on my on my street, I have three ambassadors who live on my street in the same street that I live. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that is how this area is. So sometimes when I am opening the gate
Mm-hmm.
to the house, it's a really big house. So and there's the main gate that comes to the street.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm opening the gate from the street into the yard,
Uh-huh.
people stand on the other side of the street looking at me, like
Like, who's this?
what
Who's this big
what's
black guy?
happening? Yeah, so I don't know whether it's hard to tell whether it's racist or whether it's just out of ignorance or just people confused as to what is happening. Because as I said, in some cases you can clearly say that this is racist, like the guy who denied me in that apartment,
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, like people watching from the other side of the street, there's a very exclusive area. I think for the almost 4 years that I've lived there, I've seen only two other black people who live in that area, and that is until recently. And this is recently that I started seeing them, right? So I'm not saying they are not racist. Yeah, they are, and I've experienced some of them, but I don't think I can um, judge all the instances as racist. Some clearly racist instances, like people giving you the middle finger for no reason. Strangers, people you don't know anywhere,
Right.
they just look at you and give you the middle finger for no reason. That is complete racism, but you know, that's just the way it is.
All right, let's see what we got going here in the chat room. Let's see here. What do you think? Have you been keeping up what's going on in Ghana as far as the military, like the deal with the U.S.? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, I was very disappointed.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I was very disappointed because first of all, even before we go to the details of the deal, the fact of signing that deal, the act of signing it, was completely, to me, was completely uh, against what our president seemed to stand for. You know, when I like him personally, and I would vote for him. There's no two ways about that. But it doesn't mean that I can't criticize him because I like him and he seems to be a good guy, and I want him to succeed. That's why I was really disappointed in this very instance because when he came in, he's always talking about Ghana beyond aid and Ghana independence.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Exactly.
and for me, this rhetoric of trying to move Ghana beyond aid actually generated a sense of pride in Ghanaians, right? That, okay, we don't have, perhaps we are not the wealthiest country in the world or even in Africa, but we are trying to go. We are trying to do something on our own based on our pride. We're trying to be independent, right? So this is a genuine sense of patriotism that is coming out of Ghanaians because of what he's been saying to them, pushing them to embrace this can do spirit. And then you surprise us with this deal that is basically giving the military of the US military a lot of room to operate in Ghana, right? And giving them the right to, granting them the right to secrecy that they can do. I read the agreement and I was really disappointed in how much they gave away for $20 million. I was really disappointed. It for me, there was a huge outcry, the huge opposition in Ghana against that deal, you know, and I was very disappointed about some of the government officials that were. Uh, I mean, if you're going to defend that deal, that's fine. That's probably your job as a government official. But to actually brand those who are against the deal as ignorant and not up to date with global stuff, it was really condescending because those who were defending it completely ignored the fact that this opposition or this deal is actually coming from a president who is preaching independence and Ghana beyond it. So those were two contradictory behaviors at the same time, and I felt disappointed about that.
What about how do you feel now? Are there any black institutions that are located in Germany? Like, um, trying to give you an example, or just is there any? Yeah, I mean, black institutions in Germany that you know of.
Could you be more specific?
Like for example, here in America, you have the AME Church, you have black, a ton of historically black universities.
Mhm,
You have the UNIA.
mhm.
You just have black institutions. Are there any like black institutions or African institutions in Germany?
Who? Uh, none that I'm aware of. None that I'm aware of. I know there's uh, Black Union. That's not the name, but it's an association that uh, it's trying to unite the Black diaspora here in Germany. It was actually started by an African American woman. I've forgotten her name. So they have an annual event that they meet to, discuss issues that concern Black people in Germany and all that. But as for formally institutionalized structures that be created and catering mainly to the needs of Black people here, maybe I would need to look into that, but I'm not really aware of any. Usually, you would have, let's say, uh, African Studies department in
Right.
major,
Yeah. I mean,
major.
outside of that, just like a black institution.
Yeah, those are the ones that you usually find in major institutions here. But independent Black institutions, like you find those in major universities. But as for independent Black institutions like universities or foundations or research organizations, not really come across that, unless we can talk about African Affairs Forum, which is a program that my friends from Nigeria, Tanzania, and Zimbabwe just started recently. So we just created that platform to allow um, Black the Black community in Germany to meet and discuss issues that affect Africans. But that is just in the infancy, so we will not count that as the kind of institutions that you're interested in.
Okay. Okay. Let's see what other questions we have in the chat room. Let's see here. So how do you feel about Ghana and the direction it's going now?
I think I think it was a good thing that there was a change in government in 2016, 2 years ago. You know. And as I said, I would vote for this president because I've known him for a long time. Not personally, but I've followed his work uh, for a long time. So, and I know he's been very consistent. And so far, I think they've done pretty well trying to establish a strong structural foundation for the economy. It's still hard when I talk to my folks back home, to friends back home. You always hear the officials talking about statistically talking about how things are improving, and from I know they are because when you study them scientifically, they are, but these are yet to translate into the actual lives of the people who voted. You know, so it's probably going to take time. But for me, I think under the previous government, we were really going in a very wrong direction. You know, so I think it was good that we changed. My only disappointment, as I told you about, was the deal that we signed with the US.
Mm. Yeah, I know a lot of Ghanaians are very disappointed in that.
Yeah,
Where in Ghana are you from? Are you from Accra? Are you from Kumasi? Like, where are you from?
I am from the central region, and uh, yeah, I'm finding it difficult because my family is like spread across Kumasi and the central region.
Okay.
I think it's in the central, but I would say I'm from central region because that's where my mom was born. And you know, when you among the Akan people, your hometown is where your mom was born. So your mom was born. So
Right,
that's
right, right. Yeah. Yeah, I was just in Kumasi in January. Well, December. I'm sorry, December.
okay. Nice. Where in Kumasi?
I went to they had the funeral rites for
The Queen.
the Queen Mother. Yeah. So
Okay.
I went and enjoyed some of that. I was in Accra. Then I went to Cape Coast. So
Okay.
yeah,
That
so
was
yeah.
quite a tour.
Yeah, so I enjoy. I'll be back in either November or December again.
Okay.
I'll be back. How do you feel about Black Americans who are considering relocating to Ghana?
Hmm. I think did I read correctly that they are about, is it 2,000 or 10,000 in Ghana?
It's
Which
a
which
lot.
is the correct figure?
I don't know the exact number, but I mean it's
At
growing.
least in the thousands, you know.
Yeah, in the thousands, of course. Yeah.
Okay. For me, I'm like the I'm pro. I mean, there's not the correct way to put it, but I am pro Pan African, and I am Pan
Oh, yeah.
African.
Good.
So,
Great. Good. I'm
so
happy.
for
Yeah.
me, anything black in a positive direction, you know, it's good. So I'm happy. I'm happy that that many of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora are interested in uh, learning more about Ghana and other parts of Africa and potentially settling to do business or find work, you know. So just the interest is very important to me because during my undergrad days, my first was that the first? So I have two key experiences with Black Americans. The first one was with a professor. He was from Temple University.
Okay.
He came to Kumasi KNUST as a visiting professor. And he
What,
taught there.
what was his name? Do you remember?
Benjamin Talton. I don't know if you know him.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's still at Temple.
Okay.
So he came to teach there, and that was my first direct experience with a Black American. He was so cool. He was a very good teacher. That I should give it to him.
Okay.
He was a very good teacher. I got some of my best grades from his class.
Okay.
Very funny, very nice guy, very approachable. So during the first semester, it was just him, and then during his second semester, he brought his wife. So his wife visited for the second semester, and they were really, really nice people. And then after him, our department, the history department, hosted, I think, six Black Americans from Michigan State. You know, they were
Okay.
there for about 3 weeks or something, and we got, as students, got to interact with them. We first chatted with them online before they arrived in Ghana, so we were with them for some time. So for me, it's really important. My interest in Pan-Africanism was started with my bachelor's days when I was studying all this diaspora history and the transatlantic slave trade, all this stuff that I was telling you about before. So it's I'm happy that people want to go back, you know, and discover what they can about Africa and learn, and also give the people in Ghana and other parts of Africa the opportunity to learn, to get to meet real Black Americans and learn about each other. You know, for me, that's really important. You know, because until you get to know people on a personal level, learn about them, hear them speak about their experiences, it's very easy to judge them by whatever stereotype that you have. You know,
Mm.
so So yeah, so I'm happy that many are still interested. I actually follow the African American Association in Ghana. They they are quite active. They have regular programs. I follow them online, and I know that they are doing some. They help Black Americans and other non Ghanaian blacks to settle in Ghana.
Okay. Are you familiar with the Achimoto School in Ghana?
No, no, not really. Except by passing in front of it, I'm not really familiar with it. You know,
Okay.
that's in Accra, and usually it's. I lived in Accra for 3 years after my bachelor's to my undergrads, but because I didn't school in Accra somehow. Probably that's why I didn't get to know Accra schools very well.
Okay. Now how has the Black community in Germany received you since you've been in Germany?
So you'd usually find Black people in some of these in social cycles, like in church or in civic organizations, like hometown associations, or in political parties. So the like Ghana's the political parties in Ghana, for instance, they also have active branches here. So these are the cycles in which you meet people from back home and other Black people. And or some of the students unions that I was telling you about. So when you meet Black people in these circles, many are really nice. You know, many are really nice to them. And when they get to know that you are new, they most will do their best to help you settle in, giving you advice on finding accommodation and navigating uh, the bureaucratic process. And um, yeah, I think most people that I've met, most Black people that I've met, are really nice here.
Okay. That's
Mhm.
good. That's good. I know I'm happy that there's a tight knit community of um, Black people in Germany. I know a
Yeah,
couple
I think
Ghanaians who actually I know a
the
couple Ghanaians who lived in Germany.
okay,
They're here in America now. So
okay.
would you ever consider relocating from Germany to America? Do you have friends here in America?
Yeah, I have friends and family there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I would say next question, Africans who leave Africa
Mhm.
to go to the West for education or for job opportunities,
Yes.
do you see them returning back to Africa to contribute?
Not in the numbers that I would I would hope, and myself included. As I told you, I wanted to have my PhD in Ghana and teach at Kwame Nkrumah and all that.
Mm.
But I moved here because I wanted to finish my program on time, and I'm done basically. I'm defending my dissertation next month, and then I'm done. But I told you I'm open to going anywhere I find a job, of course, including Ghana, of course. But if you asked me 5 years ago, or I would say that no, I'm going back to Ghana straight away. When you talk to people here, many of the black students here, the African students here, their stories change with time. Because with time you get to know that within the sector that you want to work, you probably have a more efficient working
Mhm.
environment here than when you're back home. So usually it's not always about the money, it's not always about the salary,
Mhm.
but about the support system. For instance, a friend of mine in Canada now, so he got a job in a Ghanaian university. He was willing to move back. The salary was decent, you know, but they could not give him funding to establish the lab that he needed to do his job, you know. So it's very difficult for this person to ignore this lab issue, which is a key issue. If you because if you really want to do your job and do it well, this guy needs the lab, but he's not going to get it because the school that hired him doesn't have the money to pay for the lab. You know, so in the end, the guy had to decline the offer because yeah, he's going to make a decent salary, but professionally, he's probably going to suffer because he will not be able to develop his craft as he would want to, with a lab. So the people that are not going back, they usually complain about the support system and not necessarily about the salary. Some also complain about the lack of research allowance or even the delayed payment of the research allowance. In some cases, you have to pay for your own research before the government or the university refunds that for you, which is a very inconvenient practice if you have to do this year in, year out, you know. So usually when people decide not to go back, it's more the result of them comparing the support systems in their home country versus what they have here. That's what makes them decide whether they want to go back or not. So what I noticed that people do is that, I mean, I feel guilty. I feel super guilty for this situation. But you are patriotic and you really want to work for your country, but you also want to develop professionally. So you're in a fix there. So what some of the people that I know, what they do is that they teach during the regular academic year. They teach here in Europe or in the US or wherever they may be. They teach, and then during the summer they go to Africa. So they go to Ghana or Zimbabwe or wherever they come from to teach there for the summer. And then for the fall semester, they go back. So they try to, I mean, it doesn't completely compensate, but at least they try to, you know, uh, serve both sides of their lives, by trying to teach on both sides.
If someone's asking, they are planning to move to Germany here shortly. What will be your advice to them?
What are they? What are they coming to do here?
They didn't say, but I mean, what would just be your general advice?
Well, if you're moving, if you're moving to Germany, it depends on whether you want to be a student or you want to find a job. But whatever you want to do, I would encourage you to learn the language. I'm not fluent in German, but I'm giving you, that is the key recommendation I'll give you, because when you learn the language, you try to you tend to understand the people better and understand how they think, you know. So when you can speak their language, it's easier to relate to them and it's easier to understand them, and it makes it easy also for you to be understood by people that you talk to. Because I would say, especially from the millennials downwards, I would say about 90%, or let's say 85% of people of Germans speak English, you know. But it's really, really important that you can speak to them
Right.
own language, because it makes them more comfortable, you know, speaking with you as well.
Do you speak German? Full German?
No, I don't. But I understand. I understand quite a lot. But I don't. I wouldn't want you practicing German with me.
Oh wow, okay. So
No,
how,
I'm not. I'm not fluent.
so you just speak to everybody in English.
Yeah, most people in my circles, either in school, because my circles usually revolve around school and the project that I told you about that we are starting, um, and church as well. So most people in these circles speak English, and of course, because my church is Ghanaian, most people speak Tree. So these are the two main languages I use here. The only person who practices German with me is my landlady. She speaks fluent English, but sometimes she speaks German to me, and I understand what she says, and I try with some German, and it's all right with her. So
Okay. All right, cool. And there was one last question. Brother wanted to know, do you think it's called the Prempeh College in Ashanti region? Prempeh?
Prempeh College, yeah.
Do you think is that the best? Is that the best school in the Ashanti region? Is it better than Nana Nkrumah University?
Better than what?
Kwame Nkrumah. I said Nana Nkrumah. Is it better than Kwame Nkrumah University? I'm sorry.
So Prempeh College is actually a high school. It's not a
Oh, okay,
not
okay.
a college in the sense of American college. It's a high school.
Okay, got it. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. But is it a pretty good school?
Yes, one of the top schools in Ghana, not just in the Central region, but in Ghana actually.
Okay, cool. All right, perfect. All right, man. If people want to reach out to you, how can they contact you?
All right. So I can give you my email address, or should I say it now?
Yeah, go ahead and say it, and I'll put it in the chat room. Go ahead and say it. Well, I have it right here. But go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
Yeah. Okay. So Boateng at gmail.com.
Now go ahead and put it in here.
Yeah, you get me. Yeah, that email. I just hope it was worth your while, you know.
Of course, man. I mean, again, the purpose of this platform is to connect the diaspora, man, all over the planet. So yeah, of course, it's very important. So yeah,
all right.
I know we're in Germany. You know, we're spread out all over. So you know, yeah,
we're everywhere.
Absolutely. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Oh, let me type this in here real quick. It's not Farrah Bram. It's not. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Make sure you share the videos as well. Also go to search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also go to AfricaPersonified.Africa, search for Uhuru.com, DynastyAmir.com, and Amazon.com. Search your name, Dynasty Amir. I might be back on later on today. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. So till next time, peace.